So we talked about this again inside our live trading room. If you're live with us the next day, it was one of the first things I was calling out right at 9:30 in the morning. In fact, actually, if you're even just in our room and subscribe to our Telegram, if you're not even inside the trading room, then you got this here because it got sent out as an alert. But this was technically, it was from the 29th. I wrote it right away on the 30th at 9:30 in the morning. So I said IBIT. There's a 10 million share print that got filled from like the 29th in the afternoon at the price $60.59. At the time 4:19 and 20 seconds. So what gives? Why was that there? Was that really taking place at that time, or was that a late print? Is that a dark pool print? Well, yeah, it's a dark pool print. That's for sure. That's the first answer I can give. Absolutely. That's a dark pool print. Now, how could I tell? Because it doesn't show up on the exchanges on the order book at the time. Even if it's not showing up on the order book, that means it could be a market order. But for something this big, and especially with it showing at after hours activity here at like 4:20, 4:19 p.m., I'm just going to call it a dark pool print for now. If you want me to put a label on it, I'll use it and say dark pool. Now, though, either way, that's a lot of money, right? So I even made a tweet about this the other night about this, just to kind of emphasize the amount of money involved with this transaction that took place. And this is my speculation. This is my thesis behind it here. So give me a moment. One more time. I'll clip this out here for you. So over 10 million shares filled above the ask. That's over $606 million worth. Think about that. Now, that could be between one buyer and one seller. That could be between a group of traders within a firm, within an institution, kind of closing a trade out for someone. That's my belief, at least. I think that someone was closing out a trade ahead of time and knew something ahead of time. Because, again, that was from Thursday at the least. Thursday at 4:19 it shows. Now, if that's like a late print, let's say if that didn't even take place at that exact time, let's pretend it got reported at that time. Well, seemingly, IBIT was trading at that price level either at 10:35 in the morning, at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon there. So probably somewhere in that chop in that area is where that transaction actually took place. I'm doing a mental 2 plus 2 there and trying to make 4, but I'm not trying to rip my hair out trying to theorize it perfectly. What I try and do is follow the big money. So that's our whole philosophy here at CTU, right? For Chuck, Farzad, Scott here, we follow the big money. So the next day, what happened? Oh, we dropped off. We dropped off and, going into that close the next morning. And as we started to push up a bit, I remember this like the back of my hand because it was like I was like very happy with my result because I didn't jump into anything Bitcoin related. We started to inch up a little bit at first, but we were nowhere near that level. We were nowhere near that, resistance. What if that's buying? Well, if that's buying, it's going to reflect within the stock price. It's going to reflect within the chart. This thing's going to blow through that resistance real quick. So it was making lower highs here, crash. So I think that someone was closing out a trade. Could someone have been shorting? Does someone know something ahead of time and is like shorting a shit ton of IBIT here, expecting a big crash? Maybe, again, I'm not ripping my hair out either way because it's all about the reaction after. It's either going to break over that resistance and flip it into support or it's not. Until it does that, I'm not exactly fully bullish. So, at least from the last few days, I was kind of looking to see Bitcoin hold over 104,000. But the longer that we're not squeezing back up at least to this, I feel like there's a chance that we go lower before we go higher. So just keep this in mind. You got this 10 million share block transaction that popped up back from Thursday, Thursday, the end of last week. So, this is what I post on Twitter, but it doesn't help you if this is delayed, right? That's why you got to join us inside our live trading room. Be a member like, Farzad is, or Scott, Debbie, a student like Chuck, or all of them are at least. So, we reacted, and so far we haven't really seen too much out of Bitcoin or IBIT yet.